My guest today is European historian Voser, but you already know, I'm Revo, and I come with fire. Let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Blaze and Debate, where sparks fly, truth speaks, and history gets uncomfortable. Today's debate will shake empires. We're diving into the ancient past, where African pyramids and Roman monuments battle for the crown of civilizational greatness. Tonight, we ignite a blazing debate that's long overdue. Did Europe build its civilization on the shoulders of Africa, or are both continents proud owners of separate legacies? We're diving deep into ancient knowledge, stolen artifacts, colonization, architecture, science, and the rewriting of history. Why are African pyramids rarely credited as superior technological wonders? Let's stop playing. The Great Pyramid of Giza is over 4,500 years old, still standing. Perfect alignment with celestial stars. No cranes, no steel, just genius. But go to school, and it's always Colosseum this, Pantheon that. Why is African brilliance underplayed in textbooks, museums, media? Why are African pyramids rarely credited as superior technological wonders? Let's stop playing. The Great Pyramid of Giza is over 4,500 years old, still standing. Perfect alignment with celestial stars. No cranes, no steel, just genius. But go to school, and it's always Colosseum this, Pantheon that. Why is African brilliance underplayed in textbooks, museums, media?
No one's denying the grandeur of the pyramids, but Roman architecture had engineering versatility, aqueducts, domes, concrete innovation. That's why they're praised. I'm here to defend Europe's contribution to modern progress, from philosophy and democracy to industrial revolution and architecture. But I'm not running from the truth either. Let's put the full history on the table.
Versatility? Rome came 2,000 years after Giza. Africans mastered stone before Romans mastered toilets. Let's not confuse imitation with innovation.
Europe drew inspiration from Greece and Rome. That's our classical foundation. African influence isn't as direct.
You see that right there? That's the blind spot. Ancient Greece learned from Egypt. Plato, Pythagoras, even Herodotus admitted Egypt was the source of wisdom. Why don't we teach that Africa was the teacher, not the student?
History is complex. Yes, there were connections, but influence is mutual.
Mutual. Africa was building stone kingdoms when much of Europe was still tribal and wooden. Don't rewrite the timeline to soothe fragile egos. Say it loud. Africa came first. Do monuments reflect values of a civilization or propaganda of the victors? Pyramids were aligned with stars, calendars, the afterlife, built for eternal purpose. Roman structures were often built to flex power, display conquest. Which is more profound?
Rome represented order and law. African pyramids represented spirituality and mystery. Both matter.
Mystery. That's the word used when people don't want to admit Africans had science. Astronomy, engineering, logistics. Africans weren't mystical, they were mathematical. Okay, I'll say it raw. If the pyramids were built in Europe, they'd be called the eighth wonder of the world, the ultimate achievement of mankind. But because they're in Africa, we get mystery, aliens, and denial.
Well, maybe it's time to reframe the narrative.
Were European museums built on stolen African artifacts and knowledge? Let's call it what it is. From Benin bronzes to Ethiopian manuscripts, entire cultural legacies were ripped from African soil during colonialism. And now they sit behind glass in Paris and London with labels like donated or acquired. That's not a donation. That's daylight robbery in a velvet box.
Look, the historical context is complex. Yes, some pieces were taken during conflict, but museums preserve history. They make it accessible to the world.
Accessible to who? African school children can't even afford visas to see their own ancestors' artifacts. You're not preserving culture, you're profiting from pain. That's not preservation, that's possession.
Cultural exchange shaped global civilization. Europeans were influenced by African art, just like Africa was exposed to European ideas.
No, there's a difference between exchange and extraction. Exchange is mutual. Colonialism was forced entry. You took gold, ivory, language, identity, and then taught us to call it progress. When you silence the origin and parade the product, that's erasure, not exchange. Simple question. If someone breaks into your house, steals your grandmother's jewelry and displays it in their living room, do they deserve to keep it because they polished it?
Returning artifacts isn't always straightforward. Some countries lack the facilities to protect them. We must consider preservation, security.
Don't insult us. You looted under the lie of civilizing. Now you hide behind protecting? Africa is not your warehouse. If you truly respected these artifacts, you'd return them to their rightful homes. Cultural exchange doesn't require guns. Preservation doesn't require plunder. And dignity doesn't come from display cases, it comes from justice. So I ask again, Voser, will Europe return what it stole, or will it keep dressing theft in a tuxedo?
And maybe it's time to reckon with the past, not just display it.
Why do European curriculums skip African intellectuals? We hear about Plato, Socrates, Newton, but ask any student about Imhotep, Hypatia of Alexandria, or the libraries of Timbuktu. Blank stares. You mean to tell me the continent that built pyramids without calculators had no math geniuses?
It's not that African thinkers are ignored maliciously. Sometimes it's due to lack of written sources or mainstream academic exposure.
Lack of exposure? You control the lens. Timbuktu had over 700,000 manuscripts on law, medicine, astronomy, centuries before Oxford opened its doors. This isn't an oversight, it's a strategy.
Does Eurocentrism distort global education? European education focuses on its roots: Greece, Rome, the Enlightenment. Every region focuses on its own intellectual lineage.
Then why is European history taught in Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, the Americas? But African intellectual history is nowhere in Europe, because Europe didn't just colonize land, it colonized memory. You made yourselves the default, and the rest of us the footnotes. What's the impact of erasing African thinkers from history? You know what happens when African youth grow up learning only about Western genius? They doubt themselves. They believe innovation wears a white lab coat and speaks with a European accent. That's psychological colonization, and it's deeper than slavery. It's the theft of identity.
I won't argue that. Representation matters. It shapes aspiration. Perhaps there's been a failure to expand the curriculum.
No, Voser, not a failure, a design. You can't teach people they were savages and also admit they birthed algebra and medicine. That would break the colonial narrative wide open. History isn't just about what's remembered. It's about who decides what's remembered and what gets erased. It's time the world hears the names Imhotep, Ibn Battuta, Queen Nzinga, Sheikh Anta Diop, Hypatia, Shabaka al-Jahiz. These weren't side notes. They were civilization shapers. Say their names, study their minds, return their credit. History's not neutral, it's edited. And we came to restore the deleted scenes. This is Blaze in Debate, unwhitewashed, unapologetic, unfiltered, class dismissed. This is Blaze in Debate, where we don't beg, but blaze. I hope Sister Voser will visit us again for part 3.
Trust me, Revo, and the viewers at home. I will be back for part 3, believe that. Have to restore Europe's legacy, peace.
Until next time, peace.